This video is about verb tense and mood, and how questions about those concepts crop up on the SAT Writing and Language test. You'll see 1 to 2 questions that ask you to correct errors like this, but first let's do a quick refresher. What is verb tense, and what are the related ideas of aspect and mood? So real quick, tense is time. The tense of a verb tells you when that verb takes place. Let's first talk about the divisions of past, present, and future. Those are your 3 basic tenses. And I'm just going to use the phrase I eat, as in I eat a cookie. So past, I ate a cookie. Present, I eat a cookie. Future, I will eat a cookie. So past, present, and future, those are what we call tenses. But then we can add another element to this, and that's aspect. And that'll go this way. And what I've just done for you is the simple aspect. But in addition to the simple aspect, there is the perfect, the progressive, and the perfect progressive. Perfect aspect is for completed actions, as in, I had eaten a cookie in the past perfect, I have eaten a cookie in the present aspect, and I will have eaten a cookie in the future perfect. The progressive aspect is for actions in progress. So past progressive, I was eating, present progressive, I am eating, and future progressive, I will be eating. And the progressive perfect aspect is for ongoing things that began in the past. I had been eating a cookie, I have been eating a cookie, and I will have been eating a cookie. Do you need to know these aspects by name? Not for the SAT, no, but it definitely helps to understand what might make an error incorrect, or what might make a right answer work the way it does. Mood is another way to inflect verbs, and there are several of them in English, but we're only going to talk about 2 in this video, the indicative and the conditional. The indicative is used to talk about facts, the conditional is used to talk about possibilities. So in the indicative, you could say, I ate the cookie. That's just a straightforward fact. And the conditional is, I would have eaten the cookie if you hadn't eaten it first. And the key is that if. That clues us into the presence of possibility. Of, this isn't factual, but it could have been. Now, if all of this language about aspect and mood is new to you, do not worry. It's very abstract, and it's much harder to talk about than it is to use. And the SAT doesn't dig especially deep into mood. These questions are really just testing your basic familiarity with the conventions of standard English. So let's go over our 3 top tips for verb tense questions, and then I'll put them into action with a worked example. Top tip number 1, conjugate in context. The rest of the sentence will often give you context clues. The word if, for example, will signal that you might need to use a conditional verb like would or could. A date in the past or future will signal the need for the past or future tense. And another great source of context leads me to top tip number 2, match nearby verbs. Look for other verbs nearby, because they'll usually be consistent within the paragraph unless some kind of time transition is being described, like, although I once hated Brussels sprouts, today I love them. That shifts from past to present tense in the course of one sentence, but that sentence gives us a frame to understand why that shift takes place. But with that caveat in mind, most of the time when you see other verbs, they'll provide valuable clues for you. Finally, top tip number 3, general facts are usually described with the simple present tense. If a statement is true regardless of time frame, use the simple present tense, like, deadly nightshade is a poisonous plant. That's a general fact about the plant. It doesn't need to be in the past or any other tense, because it was true in the past, it'll be true in the future, and it's true now. Okay, so, armed with our knowledge, let's take a whack at a question, which is from this passage about Michelangelo's statue, David. All right, this is our target sentence. Here we go. The statue's form and posture echoed the proportions of classical Roman sculpture, but its expressiveness and level of detail has reflected Renaissance sensibilities. So, has reflected, that's present tense, and moreover, present perfect. But looking at the context, we know that this is about the Renaissance, which is in the past. So right off the bat, I think it's weird that this is using the present tense. This sentence also has another verb, which is echoed, and that's in the simple past tense. And I see no time shift. The sentence goes from describing one aspect of the statue, its form and posture, to another, its expressiveness and level of detail. And I see no time shift. The sentence goes from describing one aspect of the statue, its form and posture, to another, its expressiveness and level of detail. So I feel pretty confident that we're going to be talking in the past tense, like echoed. Let's go to the choices and see if they've got the simple past tense option, reflected. And there we go. There's choice B, reflected. Simple past tense, that's the answer. Boom. But our other options are C, had reflected, which is also past tense, but it's perfect past tense. Note the had. It doesn't match the simple past tense of echoed, and there's no reason to think that it should change to perfect past tense. D is will reflect, and that's future tense, which doesn't make logical sense in the context of the Renaissance, an artistic era of the past. So we know A is incorrect, we know D is incorrect, and we know that C isn't correct because it doesn't match the aspect of the rest of the sentence. It's this had here that tells us that this is not our answer. So, your strategy for a verb tense question. Number 1, make sure you're familiar with the tenses, aspects, and moods of English, what they do, and how they're used. Number 2, look for context clues. Look for other verbs to match tense to. Look for hints about when the sentence takes place. And number 3, keep general facts in the present tense.